The receipt lay flat on the table, stark and silent, and the number at the bottom felt louder than any insult Maya had ever endured. $0. Not a cent more. Not a cent less. For a split second, the entire diner seemed to fade into a dull blur, the clatter of plates, the hum of conversation, the sunlight pouring through the wide front windows, everything drowned beneath the weight of that empty tip line. She stood frozen, one hand gripping the edge of the table, the other still balancing her toddler on her hip, wondering how a single moment could make an already long day feel unbearable. If you believe that kindness can change lives, that second chances still exist in a world that often feels cold, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Thread. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Maya had learned long ago not to expect much from the world. At 26, she was already tired in a way that went deeper than sleepless nights. Every morning before sunrise, she dressed quietly so she would not wake her son, Noah, lifted him gently from his crib, and carried him through the pale blue dawn to the small neighborhood diner where she worked. The diner smelled of coffee, toast, and nostalgia, with checkered floors and red vinyl booths that had seen decades of stories pass through them. It was not glamorous, but it paid just enough to keep the lights on in their tiny apartment and food in the fridge. Most days, it also gave her something else, small reminders that people could still be decent. But that day had been different from the start. Noah was fussy, clinging to her shoulder as she refilled cups and wiped counters, his tiny fingers gripping her apron like it was the only thing keeping him steady in the world. Some customers smiled sympathetically, others looked away, uncomfortable. Maya did her best to stay professional, to move quickly, to apologize for any delay. She had learned how to make herself invisible when needed. Then he walked in. The man did not announce himself, but his presence shifted the room. He was older, silver-haired, dressed in a tailored gray suit that looked out of place among the casual crowd. His posture was straight, his expression unreadable, his eyes sharp and observant. A few people recognized him immediately, whispers rippling softly through the diner. Maya did not know his name, but she knew his type, powerful, wealthy, accustomed to being noticed. She served him like any other customer, placing his plate carefully, refilling his coffee, offering polite efficiency. He barely looked at her, his attention fixed on the newspaper in his hands. Maya did not mind. She had learned not to measure her worth by the attention of strangers. Still, she could not help but notice the way his gaze occasionally lifted, scanning the room, lingering on small details as if he were studying something far more important than breakfast. The lunch rush came and went. Plates were cleared, tables reset, sunlight shifted across the floor. When Maya returned to his table, the man had already risen from his seat, his chair pushed neatly back in place. The receipt lay beneath the plate, folded once. Maya reached for it automatically, already bracing herself for disappointment. She unfolded the paper, her eyes dropping straight to the tip line, and that was when the air seemed to leave her lungs. $0. For a moment, humiliation burned hotter than exhaustion. She thought of Noah's daycare bill due next week, the rent notice tucked into her purse, the way every dollar mattered more than people realized. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to breathe, reminding herself that not everyone tipped and that she would survive this too. But as she moved to clear the table, something caught her eye. The plate did not lift smoothly. It resisted slightly, as if something were stuck beneath it. Maya paused, her heart thudding in her chest. Carefully, she lifted the plate higher and saw it, a small folded note, hidden deliberately under the center of the dish. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. The paper felt heavier than it should have, weighted not by ink but by possibility. She glanced around the diner, but the man was already gone, the door swinging closed behind him, sunlight briefly flashing across the glass. She unfolded the note slowly, afraid that whatever was written might hurt more than the empty tip. Instead, her breath caught. The words were neat, deliberate, and unexpected. The message spoke of observation, of quiet strength, of respect. It acknowledged the weight she carried without complaint, the grace with which she balanced work and motherhood, the dignity she showed even when no one seemed to notice. The note explained that the $0 tip was intentional, not an act of cruelty, but a test of character, one Maya had passed without knowing she was being tested at all. At the bottom of the note was an instruction and a signature she recognized instantly. A name that made headlines, that built empires, that rarely noticed people like her. Maya's vision blurred as tears filled her eyes, not from sadness this time, but from something far more overwhelming. Validation. Recognition. Hope. She pressed the note to her chest, steadying herself, feeling as though the world had tilted just enough to let light spill in. That afternoon, everything began to change, though not all at once and not without fear. The next day, a letter arrived at the diner addressed to her by name. Inside was an offer she never imagined receiving: support for her education, childcare assistance, and a chance at a future beyond survival. It was not charity framed as pity. It was opportunity offered with respect. Weeks passed, and Maya found herself standing taller, dreaming cautiously at first, then with growing confidence. She enrolled in evening classes, arranged reliable care for Noah, and began to imagine a life where she was not always one missed paycheck away from disaster. The diner remained a part of her story, but it was no longer the limit of her world. What stayed with her most, however, was not the financial help, but the lesson hidden beneath that plate. Kindness did not always look the way people expected. Sometimes it arrived quietly, disguised as disappointment, asking for patience before revealing its purpose. Sometimes it tested resilience before rewarding it. If this story has touched your heart in any way, if it reminded you that unseen struggles matter and that compassion can appear when least expected, please take a moment now to like this video, comment your thoughts, and share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Your engagement helps spread these messages of hope. Before this story ends, we have one special request. In the comments below, share one moment in your life when kindness came to you unexpectedly. Your story might be the light someone else is waiting for. Maya never saw the billionaire again, not in person. She did not need to. His presence lingered in the life she was building, in the laughter of her son, in the quiet confidence growing inside her. The diner still filled with sunlight every morning, the coffee still brewed strong, and the world still carried its share of hardships. But now, beneath the weight of everyday struggles, Maya carried something else, a reminder that even when a moment looks empty, something meaningful may be waiting just out of sight, hidden beneath the surface, ready to be discovered by those who keep going anyway.